NASCAR is officially back in full swing. We have the Fox broadcast dropping the ball. We have Chase Elliott fans complaining about Alan Gustafson. That's how you know we are back in full force. In all honesty, I got some frustrations with the Fox broadcast today, and I wanted to talk about those, and as well want to, of course, talk about the race before we jump into my main beefs with the broadcast that we had. But to put things bluntly, before we dive deep into it, I felt like James Hinchcliffe and Townsend Bell in the booth today were a big, bright spot of what we need to do as a broadcast in NASCAR going forward. But I didn't bother doing a green screen video today. I felt like just doing more unscripted, raw thoughts and just give it to you guys in my just full-blown on-the-spot opinions. And the race in itself at Phoenix was all right. It kind of reminded me of COTA. It wasn't a bad race. It wasn't an incredible race at the same time. We didn't really have much of a genuine battle for the lead really all race long. It was kind of Ryan Blaney being in behind Christopher Bell, which we saw a similar situation in COTA, which a lot of fans had a problem with. So I guess that means it's time to take Phoenix off the schedule if we continue with the logic from Twitter last week. In all seriousness, though, it was really similar to that race in COTA. Outside of that, we had a lot of tire failures, and still don't know, was it a Goodyear issue, or was it teams? Is it always the teams pushing the envelope on the tire pressures? I'm not 100% sure. Obviously, I don't have enough knowledge on that, but we saw Goodyear put out a tweet before the race basically being like, we tell them what to do with the tire pressures, what not to do basically with the numbers. And we, of course, saw, I think it's no coincidence that as the race goes on, the tire failures become more prominent. We didn't see any tire failures in stage 1, and then we saw it really come up in stage 2 and throughout the rest of the race. And I think personally, I think that's because of the fact that as the race goes on, they were like, okay, our tires held up no problem for this amount of laps. Let's start pushing the envelope and hope we can get a little bit more speed for X amount of laps. And then they push the envelope too far, and we get what we got today in this race in Phoenix. And it felt like one of those kind of average next-gen races. Plenty of passing in the midfield, and then you get up to the front, and the leader can kind of just determine the outcome for second place a lot of the time. Now, when they got into lap traffic in stage 1, we saw Ryan Blaney actually able to utilize that traffic to pass for the lead, but when the leader was in clean air, completely different scenario. Second place was pretty well stuck. He could get alongside, but the outside was OP, and that would allow a lot of the times Christopher Bell to re-clear the 12 and then just throw the dirty air back on the 12, and Ryan Blaney was stuck again. That was a bit frustrating because it was pretty evident that Ryan Blaney in a lot of that race was the fastest car. I think on the final run, Bell was probably the quickest before we got some of those cautions towards the end, but for a lot of that race, the 12 was definitely the top car. We had some wild moments in this race too, with Joey Logano and Ross Chastain getting together on a restart in the final stage, and that led to a pretty big crash. Alfredo involved and Josh Berry as well, and all of them taking really, really big hits. And then Logano a little bit later in the race, him and Allmendinger come together, and big hits for Logano in that one as well. Sorry, that was the one where Josh Berry got involved in that second one there. And we saw Chase Elliott getting involved in a few accidents as well. SVG, Shane Van Gisbergen, actually, first of all, he had a tire go down earlier in the race, spun around, and then he got loose in front of Austin Dillon later in the race. 3-car had nowhere to go, and he got into the back of the 97 and finished the job. I think SVG was going to go around regardless, but either way, he still bounced back to a really solid P11 result, by the way, for a lot of haters that say he's not improving on ovals. He had 2 issues. One was self-inflicted, the other was a tire issue, and he still bounced back to P11. So to say he's not getting better on ovals, you're just in denial and just an obvious hater at that point. But Zilish as well had some ups and downs. He had a lot of tire issues. Trackhouse had an overall rough day. All of their drivers were in trouble at one point in that race. And then the overall finish, of course, was all right. In those late restarts, though, things got a little silly at times. We were 5 wide down the back straightaway at Phoenix at one point. just drivers towards the back not really using their heads, just trying to get whatever they can, and obviously we know how that goes. But outside of that, I mean, Ryan Blaney took the 2 tires, got the lead from Ty Gibbs, and was able to win the race and hold off a hard-charging Christopher Bell on 4 tires. And like I said, overall, just a solid race. It wasn't great, it wasn't bad by any means. I would give it just like a solid 6 out of 10 rating personally, for my personal taste in NASCAR. But my main problem in this race was both related to the broadcast in itself. I want to get the obvious broadcast issue out of the way first. The points, my man. I know we're only 4 races in on this season, but we're promoting this chase format and how every race matters so much more than it ever has in the last decade, and points are so important, and being in that top 16 to make the chase. And we're on race 4 and we still haven't bothered to show the points at the end of the race. A casual fan's not going to be having a clue what's going on. There's a lot of casual people that are going to tune in just about every week, but they're not going to know what the points are because we're not bothering to show them. And we really need to do that. And starting in week 5 this upcoming weekend, please, Fox, I know no one's going to see this at Fox, but please start showing the points at the end of these races. We should not have to go be searching on the NASCAR app or on social media from NASCAR's Twitter account to figure out what the points are several hours after the race is ended. Now, I have the points here on the NASCAR website, and I hope that some of you don't have to come to me and just now find out about the points. But Tyler Reddick is still at the top of the board. He did give up some points to Ryan Blaney, who is now 60 points back. Bubba Wallace drops down a spot, and so does Chase Elliott in the 3rd and 4th. Shane Van Gisbergen maintains P5 after a strong result in P11 today. Christopher Bell with the P2 result gains 18 positions. What a leap. Like I said last week, we're going to continue to see these leaps over the next month or so, and in both good ways and bad ways. A lot of drivers are going to go way up, some are going to go way down, and another few big gains include Kyle Larson, who had his 3rd consecutive 3rd place finish at Phoenix, and he's now up to 10th place in the standings from 15th last week. Denny Hamlin now up into P12. In the top 12, of course, 16 make the chase, but looking at that top 12 alone, 12th place, Denny Hamlin is back by 118 points from Tyler Reddick. And I know they already talked about Tyler Reddick almost being like a lock for the regular season championship. I think that's just a bunch of silliness because we have seen how quickly a driver can give up 100 points. All it takes is 4 or 5 bad races over 26 races, and that is very, very easy to happen, especially in the next-gen era. A few big losers though: Allmendinger, Hocevar down 5 spots, 4 spots, Keselowski down 4 spots, Suarez down 10 after, a great start to the race, and then he really faded as the race went on, got caught up, of course, in some accidents, wrecked himself once, and then got caught up in the one with the 22. Chastain loses 3 spots in the points, but of course the last driver in the chase currently, Brad Keselowski, with a 2-point advantage over Daniel Suarez. And might I mention, man, just how much I love looking at that 16th position in the points, and now we don't have to worry about a guy in 30th winning and changing that line and where it goes. No, we know all the way until the end of Daytona in September or whatever that 16th spot is that spot that's going to be the last one that gets into the chase. That is so awesome that we don't have to worry about it like being a moving position now, with the win and you're in being gone. Now I want to talk about the actual issue I had with the broadcast, the main issue, and that was when James Hinchcliffe and Townsend Bell came into the booth in stage 2. They were there for probably about half the stage, maybe a little bit more, and it was really just a very eye-opening moment for me. Of course, I watch all the IndyCar races I can, so of course I'm very familiar with Hinchcliffe and Townsend Bell, Will Buxton as well. Of course, Hinchcliffe being Canadian like icon here in motorsports for us, but they do such a good job on their commentary in IndyCar. And then last week I had mentioned Townsend Bell when he had come in and did the Truck Series broadcast at St. Pete, how it seemed like for a guy that had never talked about NASCAR in a broadcast, basically had more knowledge, it seemed like, than the 2 people in the booth with him combined. There actually felt like as a viewer I was learning something from him for the first time ever in a Truck Series broadcast. I felt like I was learning something something from one of the commentators, and it was from a guy that's an IndyCar commentator, and he comes in today with James Hinchcliffe, and both of them, there's just something about that duo. And I mean, we could get it from other motorsports as well, but these two specifically, they come in and they were, you could feel a little bit more energy from the booth, but in a professional way. And you could as well, even for guys that probably don't really know much at all about these Cup Series cars, it felt like they knew what they were talking about, and they were trying to add value and to really add knowledge to the viewer. And that was a really, really welcoming experience. And I was really frustrated at one caution with the 88 of Connor Zilish being in the pit lane. They were working inside the right rear wheel well of the car, and Townsend Bell keys up. He's just like asking, Clint Bowyer, Kevin Harvick, like, what actually are they working on in there? And then Clint Bowyer comes in and he's like, well, how about that Wendy's menu? Like, you like Baconators, brother? I can get you a Baconator. What do you get at Wendy's? I'm like, are you kidding me? Like,
something going on here with the 88.
Over the wall too soon, but while we're doing this, we're going to make an adjustment.
What would you be doing up in there?
I tell you what I'd be doing is looking at a Wendy's menu.
Oh my God. And this is not the first time something like this happens. It's a lot of the time it feels like Fox almost tries to kind of make jokes out of this very professional sport. And I mean, there's certainly times to be lighthearted, but this was obviously, once again, just like not one of those times. And it was really frustrating. And it shows you the difference between what we get from, IndyCar's guys with Hinchcliffe and, Townsend Bell and Will Buxton, and then, the different dynamics we get in NASCAR. And it was really frustrating to just listen to that sequence. And I'll give credit to Fox. They have improved quite a bit this year. They've made a step up noticeably, in my opinion, overall across the board, not only from graphics but to the commentary as well. I feel like we've had a big step up, but yeah, I mean, just a huge drop of the ball there. And Townsend Bell is like 2 for 2 when he's done anything NASCAR related. And I remember when NBC, of course, kind of brought Lee Diffie over from IndyCar to do NASCAR. I kind of wish we could maybe have Fox like bring Townsend Bell and Hinchcliffe over. I don't care that they're not NASCAR guys. They are racers. They're going to understand, they're going to learn, and they're going to clearly add value to the commentary. But at the same time, there's no hate on the three that we have usually, because I love Mike Joy. I think he's fantastic. Kevin Harvick brings really solid insight. Clint Bowyer, he could do a lot better. I think he's improved a lot, but I think that he needs to continue to stay away from making jokes when we could really be learning something about the sport. Imagine being a casual viewer, even like I said, myself, who's been watching the sport for 15 years, and I had no clue what they were working on in that 88 car, and I was like, oh, this is a good learning opportunity even for me. And then we're hearing about the Wendy's menu. But yeah, that's it for me. I think I got all my opinions out on this one, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Make sure to leave your opinions down below of the race and the Fox broadcast commentary as well. If you had any frustrations, or maybe if you think I'm an idiot, that's okay too. You can absolutely let me know. I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you for watching, and have a great day.